Welcome to the KFA podcast, where our mission is to keep faith alive by kicking ass.
Yeah. But if you're addressing the people.
If you want to break the fourth wall, that's what it's called, I think, right?
Yeah.
Where you address the audience. Go for it.
Out here. Yep. Kind of like Deadpool.
Yeah, right.
You're like,
you know how to do it. You've seen movies.
I know, I'm good. Yeah, I've seen one or two.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. This is your first podcast too, right?
It
is.
is.
The first one, yeah, that you've been on. Cool. And so today we got Mr. Jeff Sarault, Keller Williams, real estate agent extraordinaire. So tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself. Tell us something interesting about you as well.
I've been in real estate with the same company at Keller Williams for 12 years now, since 2011. The year I got licensed was 2 years after a huge correction. So interestingly enough, this is my first down market I think I've ever seen. Ever since I've been licensed, it's been price increases every single year. And so now it's kind of a weird pivot to talk to sellers and say, you know, if you've been paying attention, you get a bigger house for less money over the last year. So that's top of mind just because I just left a listing appointment out in Woodland where I grew up. And it's a childhood friend of my parents that I was visiting with. So, yeah, they said, I wish I would have sold a year and a half ago. And I said, I bet you do. Mm-hmm. But, you know, now you have a great opportunity to, you know, they have their next place all lined up. So we're talking about how they're selling their house right now. And that was something I noticed is the conversation is a little different right now. As you know, interest rates are really high compared to how they have been in the last few years. So,
yeah. When did that happen?
Yeah,
20 months ago.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting these days is the conversation with sellers is talking about how prices are coming down, and you want to be ahead of that, not price it too high. You'll just sit on the market.
So first down market is the first down
market for me. Yep. Ever since I've been licensed, it was started out with short sales and foreclosures everywhere. Now you never see a short sale, and every once in a while you'll see a foreclosure.
Right. Probably going to see more of those.
I think so.
I would imagine.
I think so.
I would agree.
Yeah. We're going to, in fact, I see the NDS or the list come out, bank owned.
NDS is notice of default.
NOD, yeah, the NOD list, yeah.
Yep.
I see that list come out on a pretty regular basis. I noticed that it's getting longer. Every couple months it seems to get a little bit longer. So. Mm-hmm. And I think there's going to be some people that are maybe buying houses that bought in the last year that maybe they're in trouble now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Lost their job, whatever.
Yep. And
yeah.
You can't sell for what you bought it for.
Not now. No. Not now. So you got into real estate 12 years ago. What did you do previously?
I was knocking doors for a home improvement company and then managing my fellow door knockers as well. I did that for 2.5 years. 40 hours a week, rain, snow, sun, all year long. It was pretty punishing, but I learned a lot of tough skin and sales skills that translated really well to real estate. And
yeah.
I got to know the neighborhoods firsthand, obviously, pounding the pavement, and I would say that's one of my only things I won't do to lead generate is to go and knock doors for leads. I've tried it, and it's just like a PTSD thing, I think. It's just not for me, but...
Not anymore? Not even if you're doing an open house?
Not even if I'm doing an open house.
Really?
I really don't enjoy it.
Yeah?
I don't like it. I will do it if I have to, but...
Well, it's because you don't like it. You don't like somebody knocking on your door, right?
I have sympathy for them. I gently tell them off because I've been there.
Yeah.
But, it's definitely a challenge to knock on someone's door that you don't know and try to get them to like you in the first 10 seconds.
Right.
And, but, yeah, It's translated well to real estate, I think. I feel like I had an advantage when I became a realtor in that I'm not afraid to talk to strangers.
Yep.
And, yeah.
And so you joined a team first?
I did. So
okay.
I started out solo, and for 6 months I didn't have a lot of momentum built up, and I just got tired of it. And I joined a team, and I took off right away. I was selling 20 to 30 houses a year, and I've maintained that speed on as a solo agent as well. But yeah, I was on a team for 1.5 years, and I learned a lot, how to be more professional. I was definitely needed a haircut, and so to speak.
Figuratively.
Yeah, so shout out to Ken Rosengren. He's a great mentor. He's still running a team, and I learned a lot from that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah. So I work a lot with Ken. He's a solid dude.
Yep.
He just had knee surgery too. So
Just getting up
poor
there.
guy. Poor guy. So see, first down market. What's your production level this year compared to last? Is it really that bad, or is it one of those where you're hanging on?
So I would say I'm on pace almost. I'm not quite what I usually would have closed. My best months ever throughout my career have been between April and July. Some of those months I've sold 7 and 8 houses in a month, which is amazing for a solo agent. I think year to date I'm at 8 closings, and now we're in September.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely behind a normal pace. Yeah. And a lot of other realtors right now are struggling. I know mortgage officers are too. Mm-hmm. And while we're on the struggling subject, like commercial real estate is really, a lot of vacancies out there too. So that'd be something we should talk about too. But yeah, I'm behind pace, but I've got some good stuff going right now. I've got good listings out there. I've got a few pending deals right now that I'm happy to have.
You now have a pre-approved buyer because they just met with me this morning.
That's right. We got them approved. That's awesome.
So who is buying houses now? Maybe that's a good question for you too, Devin. It's like,
Sure.
Who's buying houses right now?
So there's still a lot of first-time home buyers out there that are, wanting to lock in a payment right now, knowing that ever since I've gotten to the market, rents have gone up every year, and they just keep going. So they'll take that. I know it's $2,000 a month for rent. I know it's $3,000 a month for the home right now, but I have enough, foresight to see that 5 years from now it'll be $4,000 a month rent, and that $3,000 a month payment will look really nice to have. And so there's still a lot of people that are thinking that way, and like I just need to get in while I can,
right?
Because I don't know when this is going to stop. So even though there are some price reductions coming out, we're still 6.5 million homes short of the demand in the U.S. right now. The only reason that they are where they are is because of the interest rates right now. If the interest rates were lower, there would not be any price reductions anywhere. Or any of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're seeing is you have this weird timing right now where because rates are so high, it makes payments so high, which makes things unaffordable. It's keeping the prices where they're at or slightly coming down simply because of affordability.
Right.
But rates they're projected to come down next year, like Q2 of 2024. They're supposed to start coming down significantly. Well, if they do, again, that can change between now and then, but if they do start coming down, what's that going to do? It's going to start
flood the market with buyers.
Yes. So prices are then going to do what?
Go up.
Yes.
Inventory is going to do what?
Yes.
Go down.
Go down. And so the people that have, the ability to see the future a little bit are thinking, I know it's not ideal right now, but I can stomach the payment. I don't want to.
Right.
But I can. It fits my debt ratios. It fits everything. I'm just going to bite the bullet and get in now while the home prices are 50 or 100 grand cheaper. And then I'm just going to refi when I can, when rates drop. And so I'm seeing a lot of that right now. Those are the people that are buying. And then a lot of people that are relocating here still from other areas.
Right.
And they're coming in with $200,000-$400,000 down.
That helps.
A lot of time. And so it's just not as big of a deal,
Yep, your interest rate is not as big of a factor if you have a big down payment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so is that kind of indicative of what you're seeing out there in the market too? You're seeing buyers coming in, first-time home buyers taking the opportunity?
There's not a lot of first-time home buyers in my sphere right now. The ones that I do run into, like my best friend is buying a house right now. He has been watching the market for a long time, and he just got fed up with renting where he's at. So I think the people that are buying right now, they're almost forced to. So the people that are out there, they're really motivated that are buying, is what I'm getting at.
Yep. And another thing too, like the tax implications for buying a house too. Like I think a lot of home buyers don't understand, like by renting, you're just kind of tossing that money into the pockets of somebody else. But now that's a lot of interest you're writing off every year, right?
It sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is. Because obviously they heavily load the front with the interest over the amortized 30-year period because they know you're going to refinance out of this thing. So they're going to try to make as much as they can by law up front with the interest. So you're going to have a lot to write off in the beginning.
Yep.
And so that's going to definitely help your taxable income. And obviously I'm not a CPA, so I can't go into detail on that. But, it is very advantageous to be a homeowner, that's for sure.
So when it comes to getting offers accepted now, is it harder now to get an offer accepted?
No, if you have a buyer that's serious and they write an offer, it's not that hard compared to, I want to say, a year or two ago when anything priced well was getting between 5 and 10 offers. You had to be there on day 0 or day 1 or you didn't really have a chance. And let's go back to the taxes. Wasn't there some on the table that was going to eliminate writing off your mortgage interest for the year?
I don't think it's happened yet.
It has not happened, yeah,
don't
because
think
I haven't
so.
seen that happen yet. And that's one of the biggest advantages of owning versus renting is writing off. You know, I think I usually have 8 to 10 grand at least to write off for my mortgage, and that really helps, you know, knock, you know, what is that, $2,000 or $3,000 the year that you save if you're in a 20% tax bracket. So yeah, that's a big thing.
But now imagine if you're paying 6%, 7% on interest. That's going to build up.
Compound.
Yeah, that's going to be a good chunk to write off on your taxes at the end of the year. So getting offers accepted, is it trickier now?
No, it's easier.
No,
you don't have to give up your inspection. You don't have to put down appraisal coverage in most cases. When there are 5 or 10 offers on the table, the seller gets to pick the best one, and the best one will cover a low appraisal, but up to X amount of dollars. It's called appraisal coverage. You can say either we waive our home inspection or we'll buy the house in as-is condition. We won't ask for any repairs. You know, there's a lot of ways that you give up some of your offer's amenities as a buyer to make it better. Those aren't happening nearly as much, and in fact, it's the opposite. Sellers are offering $10,000, $15,000 in closing costs off of their list price just to buy down the interest rate or do what's called a 2-1 buy down. Why don't you explain a 2-1 buy down?
Yeah, there's a 3-2-1, a 2-1, and a 1-1. There's different terms with the buy down, but you can essentially it's a temporary buy down or a permanent buy down. So you have one or the other. Well, the 2-1 buy down that Jeff's referring to is the most common one, and that is 2% off the first year, 1% off the second year, and then it goes to current market rate. So if rates are at 7%, you're at 5%, then you're at 6%, and then you're at 7% after that. So the goal is to get the seller to pay that, and roughly 2.5% in closing costs from the seller would cover the 2-1 buy down. So if they cover that, then the buyer obviously gets the benefit of the lower payment the first year, somewhat of a lower payment the second year, and then market rate. Well, the hope is that in the next 1 to 2 years, you're going to be able to refinance out of that anyway. And that's why it's more advantageous to use the seller paid closing costs to do that. Because then if you got a 2-year window and in a year you can strike and get yourself out of that loan, you're going to do it.
Boom.
But you don't want to waste your money, right? So if you have the seller's money, I mean, I don't want to say waste it, but if you're, have the seller credits and you're using those, it's not as painful for you to exercise that refinance opportunity after a year instead of waiting the 2 years if the opportunity arises.
Gotcha.
So we try to get everybody, that's what I coach everybody to the best of my ability to get the 2.5% seller paid closing costs, use that for your temporary buy down, and then they pay their own closing costs. And that way it's just, even if it's just a mental thing, all the money's going into the same pot, but knowing that a year from now, if you want to end up refinancing, it's the seller, it's those funds that you're using.
Right.
That, it just, even if it's just a mental game, it still helps to play the game,
What I found is when you're trying to reach a buyer, a home buyer, and you're trying to explain this 2-1 buy down, a lot of them, it just flies right over their head.
Sure.
So the way that I explained it is, it's gonna save you a couple $100 a month in your payment, and then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just do that then, yeah, because that's really all buyers want to know right now is like, what's my monthly payment gonna be? If I buy this house right here, what's my monthly payment gonna be?
And we can pull the amortization schedule out and break it down, and it shows the first 12 months you're saving $400 a month. The second 12 months you're saving $200 a month, and then you go to the current market rate. So it does break it down for them that way, and I just highlight the 12-month payments and show it to them so you can see it's going to gradually go back to where it was, but we're hoping we can refi in somewhere in that 2-year window.
Man, you ever think we'll get down to 3s again?
No.
Ever? Ever?
It would take a pandemic or, you know what I mean?
We could create another one of those if we wanted to. We could create another one.
No.
I think there's another one coming, actually. That's what I heard.
No, I don't want it. Not worth it. So I don't think we're going to see it. I just don't. I think with what we've gone through, what we've learned from what we've gone through, I don't think they're going to repeat that.
So 5's going to be the new norm.
or no, the old norm back to the new norm.
Back to the new. Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, that was the norm before. And I remember this is an interview I heard something from Donald Trump said way before, even like the Apprentice days. And he was saying something about borrowing money. And he was like, if you can get money at 5% or less, take it all every day. You know, and that was, I mean,
It's free money.
way back in the day. He was like, that you take their money, you know, OPM, other people's money.
Yep.
That's how you invest. That's how you get, well, that's around 5%. Anything better than that is a slam dunk. You know, we've been at 2.5% and 3%. And, you know, and then it started going up from there. But even at 7%, you remember back, I mean, I'm young and I remember, but I was, you know, not buying houses at this time, but 79, 80, 81.
Yeah.
You know,
11?
Carter. No, they got to like 18.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they got like way up there, you know, for a minute during the Carter administration.
On a $40,000 house.
I know. It's all relative.
Yeah, income to price ratios were a little bit better back then.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, I remember like watching the Wonder Years and going like, somebody with one income,
Yeah.
you know, can have 2 cars, a house, 2 kids, put them both through college. You know what I mean? And the wife's sitting at home, and you know, those days are gone. That's just not the way it is here anymore.
Now you got to have 2 roommates, an ADU in the backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, running one room as an Airbnb.
Yep.
All right, so if you go to a listing appointment, this is like a totally legitimate question because I think there's a bunch of sellers in this area right now where their house is like at 3%, right? Mm-hmm. So you go and they want to sell their house, but now they're going to get out of that 3% mortgage and they're going to be back into a 5, 6, 7% mortgage. Like, are there sellers now in that market range, in that 3% range, that are selling their house?
Only if they have to.
Only if they
Most
have,
people. I saw a great meme about it the other day. It was talking about how their starter house is now their forever house, and you're stuck.
Yep.
But yeah, if someone is moving out of a really low interest rate mortgage like that and hopping into today's market, it's a sidestep price wise, of course, like home price to home price. You're going to sell at this market and you're going to buy at this market, but the payment's going to be way higher just because of that interest rate. Interest rate means payment. That's really, you got to get that through your head as a buyer. To answer your question, if they are moving and selling, it's only because they have to. They either need a bigger house. If they want a smaller house, they don't need to maintain as much anymore.
Yep.
Or obviously
Divorce.
Job relocation, marriage relocation.
Yep.
Selling to buys, baby.
Spouse relocation.
They're just changing roommates.
Yeah.
What they're doing.
That's a good way to put it. Right?
Yeah.
I like that. Change your roommates.
Yeah, so that's really the consensus. And the listing appointment I went to today, they're moving because they have a family member hooking them up with a really nice piece. And they're like, okay, sweet, I'm finally ready to move. I've talked to these guys for years now, and they've finally found an opportunity that they're ready to jump on.
And sellers are cool with like the seller paid thing. If they're motivated to sell, I would assume like they understand the implications of it and
the closing costs for the buyer.
Yeah.
As long as the bottom line is clear to them.
Yep.
You know, so if you're gonna sell at $850 and you're gonna give a buyer $20,000 in closing costs, you're really selling it at $830.
Okay.
And yeah, you're paying commission and excise tax on the $850 number, but it's kind of negligible when you're talking about $20,000.
Right.
So yeah, that's what it looks like from a seller's perspective. They just have to digest the new rates. And most of the time, if you're selling, you're going to have a ton of equity. And when you go and buy something with the higher interest rate, you're not going to have a high loan amount because you have a really large down payment. And the higher interest rates just don't affect that type of buyer as much.
Gotcha. All right, shifting gears away from home buying, home buyers, sellers. Let's talk about Jeff. Because when I met you 10 years ago, it was right around 10 years ago. I remember this clean cut kid, short hair, and then I see Jeff on a video and I'm like, who is that? Like, that's not the same guy. So let's talk about the vibe you got going now. The headband,
the new look,
hair,
the new look.
Like I dig it. I think it's cool. Like, is it pretty well received with you? Like, your ideal buyer?
I don't think people care. They're not, as long as you don't look homely.
Yeah.
I think they just want to work with somebody that they like, that knows what they're talking about.
Right.
And so, you know, as long as you could drive up in a 90s Honda Civic, a hoopty, and it really doesn't matter. They just want to hear the words out of your mouth that make sense. So no, it hasn't affected me much. I would say the older clients are like, dude, what's with your hair? You know, but most of the time they enjoy it.
It don't matter.
And today, like I referenced my appointment again today. She's like, I am so jealous of your hair. I was like, yeah, I put water in it and I let it dry.
As am I.
Yeah. So
if I could grow hair like that, I would do it in a heartbeat.
it's super fun. I didn't know I had long curly hair. Well, I didn't know I had curly hair, of course. But yeah, I just stopped getting haircuts after the pandemic, and I liked that it started curling, and my girlfriend at the time liked the mustache, so that stuck around. And it goes really well in the videos. You can check out my channel, Sarault Properties, on YouTube. Yep. Check out the videos; they're really fun.
They are.
Shout out to Josh for the videography on that. He does a really good job.
Was it awkward being on camera at first? Did it feel awkward?
I was nervous for my first shoot. I was like, what are we gonna do? What do I say? And like, it came natural, and I just started sliding around and being funny. And the way that my videographer puts them all together, it just, it was comedic, and it had great reception right away. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of ran with it.
No,
so.
It's genius. It's absolutely genius.
I
think
agree.
what it does more than anything is it shows like you're a casual, fun, and approachable guy, and you can come ask me a question. You're not the guy in the 3-piece suit.
No,
looking,
you're a fun guy.
And then this thing with your eyebrows, that's kind of become your trademark too. I've seen you do it a number of times.
Yeah,
I've tried to replicate it in the mirror a couple of times too, and it doesn't have quite the same impact.
I've been doing that since middle school. I like doing that. Half the time people are like, that's kind of creepy, and the other half are like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
the people
fun.
who know you and love you, they think it's awesome.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Right. And so that's what matters. That's what matters more than anything.
But if you hit a stranger with a browbeating, they don't know what to think.
A browbeating. That's awesome. I love that. That's a great term.
Take them on an eyebrow ride.
So we're keeping the hair.
I think I'm about ready to donate a wig.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been the plan the whole time. That's how I justified growing it out, was I'm gonna donate a wig, and yeah, it's at the right length, so I'm about ready to be there.
We got to meet the kid that gets this wig.
I know.
I thought the same. I want to know where it goes. I want to see who wears it.
You lasted a lot longer than me. I did the beard during the pandemic because I'd never had done it before. I'm like, I'm just going to see what happens. And I looked like the Unabomber when it was done. And my wife was like, absolutely not. Get that thing off your face as soon as possible. But I just had never been able to do it before. I was like, because, being in a professional setting, you just, growing it out, you go through the stage of looking pretty silly for a minute. But I was at home for a year and a half, and I was like, I'm going to do it. This is my time.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, but as soon as she wanted it gone, just like instantly. So I hit a certain length. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. You way outlasted me, man. You kept the pandemic hair going way longer. So good on you.
So this pandemic hair, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm at 2.5 years.
Okay, well, it's time to have some professional photos retaken.
I think so too. I've been reluctant, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see which side wins.
Because to go to your YouTube channel, I see this clean cut kid, in the little circle. I was like, who's that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, the most fun thing was when I first started the new do, and no one had seen me, and I hadn't posted anything on social media. People would walk right by me after they'd look me in the eyes, and I had looked them in the eyes, and I even smiled. They just keep walking, and I go, dude, it's me, it's Jeff, and they go, what the hell? Yeah, they didn't know me at all, because I'd always had a beard for so long. And it was a really funny change up. And just the other day, Jeff Kreinbring in the office did know who I was.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, because I don't think he's on social media much. But yeah, it was a really fun thing for me to be incognito. People didn't know who I was.
Cool. So this is kind of like a rebrand almost, in a way.
In a way, yep.
Yeah. I mean, it works. I think it gives you kind of like, it makes you stand out. How about that? Yep. People remember the dark curly hair and the mustache. So did that come off of Maverick, when you were watching Maverick, the mustache?
No, so it was a 4th of July thing. That was the last time I had a haircut. I had somewhat longer hair, and I went to my barber down the street, who I've just got my normal haircuts from, and I said, hey, can you do a mullet? And she says, oh yeah, and she definitely didn't know how to do a mullet. It was a terrible mullet. So I shaved my beard into just the mustache and like my terrible mullet, and that was the last time I had a haircut. And my girlfriend at the time loved the mustache, so the mustache stayed, and I just grew the hair out.
Cool. And the mustache staying.
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a good time.
Okay. We can't donate that hair, unfortunately.
The third super eyebrow.
Do you feel like it's helped you maybe get more sellers or more buyers or more clients?
I don't think so.
No.
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 I
What
think,
about the opposite?
I don't think so either way. I mean, I'm
Neutral.
I don't even pay attention. I'm going for it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it does, screw. They're not your
Yeah.
client anyway.
There you
That's
go.
Right. So social media of choice. I heard you say social media a couple of times. You have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. It's Sarault Properties Inc. I would say my social media of choice would be Facebook. For business, it's been amazing because I can reach everybody. You know, like I'll run into people I never talk to, and they'll say, "Dude, I love your videos," because we're friends on Facebook and they see what I post, and so I think that Facebook is really good for me. Instagram is more like a fun side of things for me, but obviously I'll post some business stuff there too. But yeah, Facebook has been really good for advertising my listings, advertising the videos I've put out.
Building your brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Like little tidbits of open houses I do and stuff like that.
right. Keeps you top of mind.
Top of mind, yep.
That's the name of the game right there. If you're not staying top of mind, if they're not seeing you on a regular basis, then you might as well not exist,
Exactly.
right? So Facebook, and so you're putting content out periodically. I've seen your content. Your puppies are in your content too. I think that helps as well. Yeah. 'Cause who doesn't like the doggies? Everybody likes doggies.
Weirdos. That's who.
Yeah.
I've got a neighbor that doesn't like dogs. She's weird.
Yeah. Well, if my dog don't like you, then I probably don't like you either.
I got a question for you, Devin.
Hit it.
So you're coaching your buyers through a 2-1 buy down. You're coaching them through what regular buy downs look like for just buying your interest rate down permanently. When you're talking to a first-time home buyer that will have a large loan amount, and you're talking about what makes more sense to spend the closing costs on, what are people going with more? Is it a 2-1 buy down, or are they doing a permanent buy down more often?
The 2-1 buy down.
Really?
Yeah, and for the reason that most people are under the belief that rates will come down.
So it's a gamble.
Soon.
So they're gamblers.
It is a little bit of a gamble, but it's not like doing an arm. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
So your rate's fixed. You know where it's going to go. You can see what's going to happen. You're just stepping up into it.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is that even if that didn't work out, are you going to be better at your job a year from now and 2 years from now? Are you going to get some kind of a pay raise? You know what I mean? So most likely the answer is yes.
Right.
And so it should. You have 2 more years to pay stuff off, that other stuff off. So you should be able to seeing what the future's laid out for you. You know what's coming. So if you're budgeting properly, that you know 12 months from now what's going to happen. You know 24 months from now what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So even if that rate didn't drop, you already know what's happening, right? So you can budget accordingly. So that's why you're taking a little bit of a gamble, because you already know what's coming, but you really do believe that rates are going to drop. And
you believe it in your
but
heart.
most do.
In your heart of hearts.
But most do. I mean,
Yeah.
if you watch from any major news network, even to ones on this side or this side of the spectrum, they all say the same thing when it comes to this.
Yeah, but we can't trust either of them, of course.
You know,
So, all right, so you said it's 2.5% to do the 2-1 or 2?
roughly.
So 2.5% is what you need just for the 2-1 buy down.
Right.
And then if you're doing an FHA loan, you need 3% for just your closing costs. So you're at 5.5% of the purchase price.
Depends on your FHA. So 2% is going to be your normal closing cost if you're not paying a 1-point origination fee, like with the Washington bond, which is one of the 0 down.
Okay.
So they charge a 1% origination fee.
Right.
So that way you're going to need your 2% plus your 1%. But then it gets more complicated because they give you 4%, not 3.5%. So it's actually 2.5% for the Washington bond closing costs. 2% for normal closing costs, roughly, if you're just coming in with your own 3.5% down payment on an FHA loan.
All right, so after all that's being said, if you want to do a 2-1 buy down and you're using FHA, you're going to need about 5%
Yeah, 2.5%
of the
and
purchase
2,
price.
So 4.5%, correct.
So you're going to need your down payment. Let's talk about a $400,000 house, which is entry level for our area in Vancouver,
so
Washington.
3.5% down.
So you need 3.5% down. That's
Yep.
going to be 14, and then you're going to need 5% in closing costs. So that's 20 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of that can come from the seller. I'm just trying to.
So you're at 34 total if you add all that up,
Yep.
minus whatever you're going to get out of the seller.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. It's a good
People
amount of
have
cash.
that.
It's a good amount of cash. People have it, and
They
you
do.
can really milk the seller for it because they're getting a little more desperate. The starter home price range around that 400 grand range is still moving, just because people,
Yep.
they still need that. They make great rentals, of course, too. They don't always cash flow with interest rates, but it just depends on your down payment. But yeah, just trying to line up the numbers for our viewers, what that looks like. With
As
the
long as it's
2-1.
move-in ready.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. There's always that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's not.
Yeah. But we're talking about FHA, so we're talking about owner occupied only for at least the first year.
True. Yep.
So
Yeah.
got to remember that.
No, that was good. That's a great question. So technology. Let's talk about technology.
Okay.
Are you using much technology in your business right now, as far as like social media or CRM? You have a website.
Yes, so I have a website, and that is where I will advertise single property listings to. I'll advertise my own listings. Whenever I put out content, I'll try to put in the comments, I'll plug my website. And that's where, you can go to register and get a listing alert set up for what you want to buy. So yeah, that's the technology I use. I'll also do some paid advertising on Facebook, and other than that, it's me manually putting out content on Facebook and Instagram.
Making the calls.
Yeah, making my calls is the main money maker. I'm looking at ways to leverage right now. I haven't hired a virtual assistant yet, but I'm getting on that train. It needs to be done because I just don't have the time to advertise every listing I have the ability to, and that would really help.
Well, AI might be able to take care of that problem for you before too long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be very nice.
I built several AI assistants over the last couple weeks.
Okay.
And it's scary.
Coming along?
It's scary what it can do. Yeah, it's absolutely scary. Are you using any kind of AI right now?
Not yet.
No?
Just what you and I have talked about already is, on the plate of things to do. Obviously, everyday things need to be done before I can start branching out. But that is, I would say, one of my limiting factors is not branching out and trying new things like AI and hiring the virtual assistant. I think that's what's going to take me the next level, beyond what my own efforts are doing manually every day.
It's going to take everybody to a whole different level.
For sure.
Like I'm telling you, AI is gonna change everything, every industry, there's going to be a day where we're going to look back 10 years, 20 years from now and say like, I was in December of 2022 is when like the space-time continuum shifted. If
Sure.
you guys know, it's a Back to the Future reference.
Sure.
Yeah.
So tell us from your perspective, where do you see AI fitting into this industry from the lending and real estate side in the near future?
Yeah. I think it's going to automate a whole lot of things. Like your assistant, like if you have a virtual assistant or maybe like a transaction coordinator, like it's going to take the place of your transaction coordinator. Do you have a transaction coordinator right now, a TC?
I do.
Yeah.
Kind of a part-time one.
Yeah. So what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to train AI to take the place of your TC and do these things for you, just automated through your phone. Like, tell your phone like, hey, Jarvis, I need you to send that addendum off, or you email it to something and it says, say like file this into this for this category and to do this, next thing. And then remind me in 2 days to have the seller sign that. And it's just going to take care of it for you. Like everything's going to be automated. I'm looking at marketing automation right now because I think that's the area where people really have a hard time.
We love that. Both sides. Yeah.
So I can create a persona and say like, my name is Devin Rowe, I'm a loan officer at Cardinal Financial, and I need 6 pieces of content to go out over the course of the next 2 weeks. And I want to center it on the 3-2-1 buy down program to help first-time home buyers get into their first house. It's going to go out and research all of that for you and then come back. It's going to give me posts that are ready to go. And then it just sends it back to you. It says, are you good to go? And you just say, that one, send. And then it just queues them out for you.
Yeah, that's pretty wonderful.
Yeah. It's already happening. I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
So it's just going to get more advanced and better and fine-tuned.
What do you think that's going to do to the industry, though? Do you think it's going to create jobs? Do you think it's going to get rid of jobs? Do you think it's just going to shift jobs elsewhere? What do you think it's going to do?
I think it's going to shift jobs elsewhere. Technology usually does that.
Okay.
When the internet came out, the internet put me out of a job, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that. Like I worked in printing and graphics for 20 years. The internet came out. and people could go to Vistaprint and get 150 business cards for $10.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
My company, it cost them $300 for the same cards. So they were like, oh, I'm just going to go to the internet now. And the market crashed. The printing industry crashed and forced me out of a job. So, but what it did is it gave me the opportunity to go find a job in another sector based off the experience that I already had.
Okay.
So, so the answer is yes, it's going to replace a lot of jobs. It's going to create a lot of jobs too at the same time. But I think not just real estate, I think every industry, especially lending, is probably going to be transformed as well.
I can see that in lending. So what I've been thinking about, because I've heard people talk about it, is on the real estate side, between listing agent and buyer agent. Like, you get enough of this AI going out there where, somebody can just go online and list something, and then just with technology in general, not necessarily just AI, but that, do you need a buyer's agent or a listing agent, or can it just be like one agent? Because you can scan your ID, it sets up a time to go in and show the home. There's cameras all over the home. It sees the people walk through the home. So, you could put these safety checks in line to make sure nobody's going to walk in and steal your stuff, right? So, I mean, do you need somebody to open the door and look around? Is that job going to be here?
I think so.
Why?
Because people they're always going to need the personal touch. Like, I don't think a real estate agent is ever going to be replaced by AI. Maybe a fraction of them, it's the people who don't want to talk to anybody. Like, you go to McDonald's, you order something from McDonald's, you don't even have to talk to anybody anymore. You can walk in, order your thing, you walk up to the counter, you pick it up, you walk out the door. You don't even have to say anything to anybody. But that's for ordering a cheeseburger. This is a $500,000 huge decision. You kind of need somebody to advocate for you.
Maybe. I just don't know where it's going to go from here, because I'm looking at the same thing for me. Like, am I going to be out of a job? You know what I mean? In the loan officer role, like, is AI going to be, like Rocket Mortgage 10 years ago, or whatever, they said, push button, get loan. I mean, obviously it didn't do that, but it's going in that direction. Like, the more of this that can get automated, are people just going to be able to just go get a loan and not need someone like me? And I do think both ways. Like, some people are going to be like, this is the biggest decision of my life. I'm not going to trust some computer algorithm to let me know if I'm going to be able to close on this day or not.
Yeah.
But I think some people will. And so I just don't know what the percentage of the market is that would be willing to alleviate or eliminate you and me's, and the people that are going to be, wanting to keep us.
Well, hopefully we've made enough money where we can just sit on a beach and smoke a
future
doobie.
generations.
Yeah. Sit on the beach and watch the money being rolled in, from somebody else. But I don't see that happening in our sector anytime soon. There's always going to be a small percentage of people that I think are okay with it, but I think by and large you need that human intervention at some point. And I think people are going to be less trusting of computers, and they're more trusting of somebody that they've established a relationship with.
That I can totally agree with. But
So,
what do you think about it?
I think it's definitely not going to replace us as a whole. I think it will take a lot of the tasks off our plate. One of the things I find really interesting is AI's ability to fill out a purchase contract. Would be pretty neat. But it's still going to be prompting, you either fill in the blanks on the physical contract or you fill in the blanks from the AI's prompts. So you're still going to be writing contracts. You're still going to be putting them all together, making sure that you're not leaving something out that's going to really hurt your client. Sure. So I really don't think that AI is going to replace my occupation at all. I think if I'm a seller and I live in the house, there's no one's going to scan a key card, and I'm not going to install a bunch of cameras to keep an eye on people looking at my house either. So I'm going to put away all my valuables, and I'm going to know there's a licensed professional taking the buyers around, that they're not stealing things or damaging anything. So yeah, the personal touch on my side of things, I think, is really important for people. For lending, I think you can have a lot of your tasks taken over by AI as well, but people
sped up.
Yeah, sped up, but it make your job more efficient. I think the high producers and the people that really know what they're doing, they're not going anywhere. But if you don't have a good network built and you're not a go-getter, it's going to be easy for people that are taking advantage of AI and being more efficient to take market share and eventually your job. So, I'd have to agree with Larry here. I don't think that AI is going to take our jobs. I think it'll make it more efficient.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And the ones who are less experienced or not utilizing it, or their companies aren't utilizing it, are probably going to be replaced.
Right.
Yeah.
A good example I heard recently was like the travel industry. You know what I mean? Like when the internet came out and Expedia and all those things came out, like the whole travel industry went, a lot of people, they were okay with switching to that. And that's still a pretty complex thing to organize all that stuff. And over time, people ended up being okay with it. You know, not if you have 20 people and you're going to go make these 8 stops, but you know, you still use travel agent. But if you're just going from here to Vegas for the weekend, you know, if I was just picking up a 20% down rental property, I had, you know, 800 credit score, 20% in the bank, and I, you know, I don't know. I'm just saying it could go either way. I know there's always a sector that is going to want the personal touch for sure, and somebody double check everything, make sure I'm doing this right, or I don't believe in my ability to trust the technology either. Mm-hmm. So I want one of us to be able to make sure it goes
100%
goes well. So I do think there's going to be that, but I do believe that we're going to lose a percentage of our business to AI.
And just the bad ones.
Yeah, well, and even if it's not the bad ones, the percentage is how many of us are also going to go away. So it could be the same market share that we have. You know what I mean? Even if we lose 10%, but 10% of the people go away, do we still have the same, you know, we have the same net result at the end of the year, same amount of clients. So I still think, like exactly what you're saying, the professionals are going to be fine, but the dabblers, the part-timers, or the unprofessional people, or the people that just refuse to accept the changes, you know, 100%. People that dinosaur out, they're going to literally be gone. But the people that are willing to at least research it, adapt as much as they can, adopt as much as they can, and keep an open mind to this stuff, because it's coming, whether you like it or not. You know, it's here. You know, so those who are willing to at least pay attention and move forward in that direction, I think, if professional, will be fine.
What I worry about more than anything is the scams are going to get more complex.
Oh yeah, they already are.
They are super elaborate, and I think AI is just going to exacerbate that. They're going to get even more scary and more complex, where somebody can mimic your voice because they have your voice on a YouTube video, and they can mimic your voice, and somebody can spoof a call to your client and say like, hey, I'm about to go out of cell reception, but I need you to go to the bank and wire $5,000, and I'll send you email instructions. You know, and it sounds like your voice.
Totally.
So, I mean, that's the kind of things, and I think, but that's where education comes in. We have to kind of educate ourselves about it. So
it would become so common that educating your client about AI scams will be common too. Mm-hmm. So everyone's going to adapt on each side.
Yep.
Have you been tried to get scammed yet?
No, usually it's the really common one. It'll come from my designated broker Shelly and say, "Hey, I'm busy. Can you do me a favor?" And that's obvious. It's
a fish.
Every time an agent gets one of these texts, we send that off to Shelly, and she'll send out a broker-wide email. Hey, this is what's happening out here. Just watch out for this. It's not me texting you, because it, you know, it doesn't come from her number. It'll be from another agent's like social media. Like, hey, how are you? And it's such like a weird thing to get because you never talk to them, you know. So there's like super obvious scams, and then there are becoming more elaborate and more personal. But yeah, those are the ones I get the most often right now. Is just a text that says it's the person I should be trusting when it's clearly not.
Right.
And then what you'll see is a lot of warnings from escrow and title companies. They'll say wire fraud is on the rise. We'll never ask you for any banking information. Before you wire any funds, call us to confirm. You know, so you're not wiring your $90,000 down payment to someone that isn't the title company.
Right. Sure.
Which would be a nightmare.
I can't even imagine.
Oh my God. I have a house for my family. Oh wait, I don't. And I also don't have any money.
I know. Yep. Brutal.
Now you're not going to close.
Yeah. And good luck trying to get that money back.
Yeah.
No, you're not getting it back.
Well, the good news is there's plenty of tents to, you know, put up, I guess.
It's a whole other sad story to deal with. Yeah.
But I think that's what worries me is it's nice that you haven't been attempted to scam yet, because I know several agents who've been knee deep in it, and I know
close to closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens?
Title company found the one. If you're talking about the one I'm thinking you're talking about, title company found it right before.
Found what?
That it was not legitimate, and that they were a bad. We'll call them a bad actor.
Seller.
Yeah, a bad actor.
It was a fraudulent seller.
Yeah, that was trying to sell some land.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I've seen an example of that. Ooh.
Yeah, and they're like, "Yeah, come check it out, make an offer, they give you a good deal." Come up with whatever excuse. I got to sell it under price. I got to get rid of it quick. You think you're getting a good deal? You're buying this land, and it's not even them.
Yeah.
You know, so scary. Yeah, you definitely got to pay attention. It goes back to what your mama told you your whole life. It sounds too good to be true. It probably is.
Probably
you know what I mean?
is.
So you just got to be extra diligent these days.
Triple check.
Yep, triple check.
Cool. All right. Last question. If somebody was coming into real estate today and they got their license last week, what's one piece of advice you'd give them right away? What's the first thing?
I would tell them to do what I did because it worked for me. But there's a million ways to swing a dead cat. I would say join a productive team, and that would involve interviewing multiple teams because there are teams that accept buyer's agents and just kind of run through them, and then they expect a lot and don't provide the resources. I've had friends join teams and it just doesn't work out for one reason or another. So I would interview teams and join a highly productive one because you could start out jogging or you can just hop on the moving train, and they'll feed you leads, they'll tell you what to do with them, they'll send you on appointments, and they'll take you from contract to close. So joining a team is a super good idea because you're not going to know what to do when you're licensed. You don't know how to advertise yourself in a way that will give people trust, towards you. And so beyond joining a team, they're going to tell you how to lead generate, and that means doing open houses. That means getting people's contact information and making sure to put it in your database and follow up with consistency. One thing that you'll notice if you don't make your calls for a year, you go out and you call those people, you'll run into 20 deals you didn't get, 10 or 20 deals. And yeah, it stings because those are $5,000 to $15,000 each. So that is the lesson to be learned, is to be consistent with your follow-up, put everybody in your database, learn from people that know how to do what you want to do. So, find mentors, find a coach, make friends with other realtors that are really productive, ask what they're doing. See if you can get any of the win from their sales into yours. So open houses, make your calls, go to the office, get mentors.
But not door knocking.
Go door knock, whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to make money. You can spend all your money on search engine optimization. You can spend all your money on social media advertising. You can spend every day of the week at open houses if you want. There's a lot of different ways to make money. And
so many avenues.
Yeah, and there's a lot of the pie to go around.
Partner with a loan officer.
A loan officer will help. A good one will. They can assist you with open houses. They can help with marketing costs. They can help with marketing ideas. And if you get a really good loan officer, they'll have their own leads to send your way, which is awesome. Having a loan officer that has leads to send you is really rare. So if you find one of those, hang on to them for dear life, because obviously they're gonna need business from many other realtors, and if they're choosing to send their business to you, that means a lot. So,
and our goal here at KFA is to help Cardinal get those leads ahead of time, so that we're kind of heading off the path of, so if somebody's looking for a house, instead of going to a real estate agent first, or maybe going to an open house first, they go to a loan officer first, so they kind of have that guide. And once
and then we can disseminate to our referral partners.
Yeah, and then you can say like, hey, you know who you'd vibe with? You'd vibe with Jeff, really, really good.
Exactly.
So let me introduce you. So that's kind of our goal here, is to develop a platform where we're farming those leads.
That's been our biggest problem since day one, is because we get most of our leads from agents.
Yep.
And so working this angle with KFA's huge focus of trying to get us to get them first.
Yep.
To get back to you guys it's amazing. So if we pull it off successfully, which there's no better team to do it than the team we have. So
what do you think my AI is going to do, man?
100%. Yeah. So I'm just saying if, because it hasn't officially happened all the way yet, but we're there.
Yeah,
So,
and who better to know what realtor to send the people to? Like, you're firsthand in it. You're working with all kinds of agents. You used to be an agent.
Yep.
How long have you been in real estate and mortgage together?
I started in 2005, did lending for 6 months, and then Brian Combs pulled me over to Keller Williams. So I was there 5 years. Did a little bit of lending in that time because you could still do both, and then came back to this in 2012 full time. And just this. So
Well, you went through the war.
Oh yeah, this isn't my first
06,
rodeo.
07,
this is
08.
my Second, I went from rock star to rock bottom in 24 hours flat, man. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. I was just balling, you know. I was a kid, you know, was just kind of dumb, but I thought it was me. I thought I was that awesome. I didn't know the market was that awesome. I'm like, I'm really good at this real estate. I'm really good at this stuff. Well, it was the market that was just in my favor. And so I bought the Escalade.
Yeah, I was going to say the Escalade, right? Yeah.
Put the 24s on there.
Put some D's on it.
In escrow on my license plate.
Ooh.
I thought I was just the coolest thing ever. Just one,
Balling.
just this much shy of the spinners. You know what I mean? I was almost there, you know? And then, you know, I ended up selling my Rolex to pay rent.
Wow.
During 08. The Rolex that I financed, by the way, because that's how cool I was. Yeah, back then. So financed the whole thing, ended up selling it to pay rent. I mean, just the most humbling experience ever. So this go around, not at all. I learned from my mistakes, became a totally different person, saved, invested, stayed humble.
Bought a Casio instead
Don't
of
even
a
have a
Rolex.
You know, just, driving a Hyundai, loving it. You know what I mean? It's paid in full, you know.
Win the
Just
Super Bowl,
completely
drive
different.
off in a Hyundai.
Yeah,
right?
totally different world, man. Just totally different world. So, yeah.
Oh, you're
not my
driving a
first one.
Hyundai? I got to find a different mortgage officer now.
Yeah. Yeah, guess what? I'm still here and the others aren't.
Yeah,
because
that's
I
true.
drive a Hyundai.
There you go.
Or one of the reasons.
It's a good point. But what I was getting at is you've been through it, and if people are coming to you to find a realtor, you're going to know who to send them to.
Absolutely.
You're not going to send them to a schmuck or someone that's not available or won't answer their phone.
Totally.
And that's really all you got to do is be consistent, answer your phone, and show up to your appointments.
You know, whenever I meet with a real estate agent, we're talking strategy or marketing, and their phone rings, I always tell them to answer it. Oh, you probably should answer that. And you can tell the ones that are like, okay, yeah, cool, thanks. You know, you give them permission to answer it, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
You might be missing a deal, you know.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, answer your phone. That's the moral of the story. Answer your phone. We'll end on that.
Sweet.
Answer your phone.
It's been a pleasure.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming. Thanks, Evan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do this again.
Sounds good.
When the market comes back.
The market's here.
Yeah.
Welcome to the KFA podcast, where our mission is to keep faith alive by kicking ass.